to my channel. Well, as you know, I was experimenting around with, solar panels, and I have this little one right here. Does a pretty good job for what it is, but I'm trying to develop a minimal basic backup power system, for like an apartment or something like that. And what you have to do when you're doing that is first, if you're building like a solar system, is you got to take into account how much sunlight do you get, depending on where you're at and latitude and everything else. I'm in Texas, we get a lot of sunlight, but because I'm in a courtyard, the way my balcony is facing, I don't get really direct sunlight until like past noon usually. Around noon or so, or past noon, and there's only a little small section of that gets light. So already I've limited the amount of time that I can charge something, depending on how well these work in less than direct sunlight, because all of these are usually rated at direct sunlight. So what you first have to do is, like I said, figure out how much, if you've got a good sunlight spot, how much sunlight do you get, and then what are you trying to power? What are you trying to charge or whatever? And usually it's some kind of battery, and then from the battery you have some kind of an inverter. Now you can skip the inverter with something that has a built-in USB port, because it's basically going to throw out 5 volts DC. So if that's all you're trying to power, you don't need something. But if you're trying to switch it from 12 volts back to 110 volts, you're going to need an inverter. This one doesn't switch it to 110 volts, but it does do 12 volts and a bunch of different outputs. Now, what I was looking at was basically the input of this charger is 12 volts, 5 amps. So if I wanted something that would run this at full power, I would need actually a 60 watt panel. But that's if I'm running 3 amps in each bay. That's where it would start pulling out that 5 amps. So basically, like I said, I'm just tinkering around with it, but it's really hard to decide. I bought this on my own. This wasn't, sponsored or given to me or anything like that. I just went on Amazon, started looking around and looking at different ones and trying to figure out what I wanted. And you can get something kind of like this. It's going to cost quite a bit more, but at a 40 watt panel, a little bit bigger than this, even a flexible one, would run close to, getting close to $100. This one is normally 60 something, and there was a coupon or something like that. I wound up getting it for like 50 something dollars, but this is just an initial impressions right now. All I've done so far, it's not even complete daylight right now. It's like 7 a.m. in the morning, and the sun rose about like an hour ago over in the east. And like I said, my apartment faces the west, so I don't get a whole lot of light. But what I did is I took this out to my balcony, and there's a built-in, this has got a very nice cover on it and everything. There's a built-in USB port in this thing. This pouch also is here to, carry your stuff. But this little LED, this red LED comes on when you get enough sunlight. And if you open up all the panels and hang it out, even right now, it'll get a charge. But I mean, this just unfolds. I can't unfold all of them right now, but they just unfold. And so far, with this little grommets here, you got 2 on here. It's fairly heavy. It's like 2.5 pounds or so, or almost a kilo. It's not super heavy, but it's fairly heavy. It's got a little handle, a rubberized handle in here, and it comes with some of these little carabiners in there. But first you want to figure out what you want to power. So there are other things that goes with this, is like a power bank and stuff like that. Now you can do a small power bank. Even one of these would work on a small power bank. Now this one only going to put out 1 amp at most, you know. So you're limited, and you're not going to do any fast charging. With this one, you can do. It's got 2 USB ports output plus a 12-volt DC output, and like I said, you get all these different attachments. You know, like this is the. It's got 2 eye grommets, but they give me 4 clips. It seemed like, I don't know if this is heavy, but it seemed like you would put 2 more grommets at the very end. But everything is very, very nice. This feels very nice, like material. Anyways, you got 12-volt connector, and then you got this USB that comes out to all different kinds. It's got micro USB, USB-C, and then an Apple, I think, like Lightning, you know, charger. So that it comes with that and that, and then all these little 12-volt adapters, you know, for power adapters, whatever your little 12-volt port is, like this one. There's one that'll fit it. Now, like I said, this one probably won't put out 5 amps, but it depends on what you're doing. Like I said, I'm not going to run 3 amps. I'm not going to run 3 amps in each bay if I'm using this. And I probably won't even be using this. What I'm going to do is put it out on the balcony, and during the weekdays, try to run most of my stuff off of batteries, you know, flashlights and everything else, you know. And I wanted it also because I'm in Texas, so our power grid is not the most reliable in the world. And if your power goes out in the middle of a heat wave, which is very likely, you're going to need some way to cool yourself off. And I wanted to basically, like I said, I'm developing a system. I'm going to get a little 12-volt. I've got a battery-powered fan, but the connectors are corroded. I got to clean those off. But it takes like 2 D-cell batteries. It was inexpensive, and I left the batteries in it, and it corroded it. But just something like that. You know, if you needed medical stuff, you know, you might want one that would power a small refrigerator. Now you're not going to run all of your voltages directly off of a solar panel. You know, like the most you could do is maybe a fan, and even then, if it gets cloudy or whatever, the speed would go down. It's usually better to run something through a battery, because you're giving it steady power, steady voltage, and everything like that. So far, this is pretty cool. I like it. Like I said, I'm gonna do some more tests later on. I'll plug this in. I plugged the little tester in it. Of course, the display was upside down, but it says it was getting 5.02 volts, and all I had was this plugged into it, so it wasn't drawing any amps or anything like that. But yeah, these things are cool. It's a rabbit hole. Like another viewer said, it's one of those rabbit holes you can go down where you start with, oh, I'm gonna get one of these, and then you get bigger and you get more, and it can get carried away, you know. In my case, like I said, you want to identify what are you trying to power, and how much power would it need, how much power would your panel need to do that. Now you don't always necessarily see, like this one, in theory it takes 60 watts. It would take a 60-watt panel, but you'll still be able to run this thing as long as you're not, you know, pulling up the maximum amps. You should be able to run this thing as a charger. But anyways, yeah, that there you go. Just a little quickie there on my first impressions of this. It's very well made. I'll put up all the little specifications and, you know, the stuff that it had up on Amazon with it. But fairly compact, not too heavy. Like they show, if you're walking, you know, you just put this on your backpack and you let it absorb the sun while it's going. If you're car camping, you can put it on the roof, you know, of your vehicle, or on the side of your tent, wherever you can get like direct sunlight. But don't leave it out there like overnight and stuff like that, or because it's not going to do you any good. And a bear could come along and steal your solar panel, and then what would you do? You know, you'd have to track the bear down. But anyway, yeah, there you go. I'll try to include some more later on testing of this. I just wanted to show you all it comes in is basically a box. It comes in a box. It looks like this. Just a black box. Of course, it comes in a, if you're getting it from Amazon, it comes in an Amazon box also. But yeah, there you go. That's my initial impressions of this. Like I said, I'm gonna continue to test this. Eventually, I'll get a battery bank. I've already got I think like a 300 watt inverter if I wanted to run something. At one time, I had a 1,000 watt or a 1,500 watt inverter, but that was another thing I had to sell when I was running low on money. But yeah, so there you go. So far, I'm impressed with this. And even like I said, in cloudy, early morning, it was still able, I could still start charging stuff if I hung it, off the edge of the balcony, had it facing out like that. So, there you go. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day. So, here it is folded out. That's what I'm dealing with at 7:30 a.m. Now there's at least lights casting shadow. I'm going to plug this in. I don't think it's getting enough power. There it is. See, it has a USB battery bank right now. It's plugged into the DC out. Alright, my problem was when I'm holding it up, a lot of times, it'll cover half this panel. And if it does cover half the panel, you don't get a charge. So, I mean, partial blockage. It's blinking. When it does that blinking, then that means that it's probably getting intermittent power. Like I said, this is not exactly. Yeah, see, even that was flashing. But I can put a flashlight in the USB-C port here and get a charge. Let me do that. Sorry. As you can see, it's in the shade. The sun's over there. We've got all these apartment buildings blocking light, plus the roof, and yet it's got enough to power to charge this guy, but not enough to really run this one, which is to be expected. I mean, physics. You don't get enough light. Look, if a fly lands on your solar panel, hey, you're cutting out my efficiency. Yeah, you can land on the the fabric part. Don't get on the solar panel. Understand?